Imagine standing on top of a hidden treasure worth more than $8 trillion. Not dollars scattered in a vault, but minerals buried beneath the calm, unsuspecting land of Pakistan. That's right, trillion with a T. To put it in perspective, that's more than the entire GDP of Japan and nearly twice the size of the UK's economy. Just sitting underground waiting. You might be wondering, if it's so valuable, why hasn't anyone mined it yet? That's the real mystery. Beneath the mountains and deserts of Pakistan lies a mineral jackpot: copper, gold, lithium, and rare earths. The exact materials that power everything from smartphones and electric cars to satellites and modern military hardware. But this isn't just a story about money, it's a story of danger, politics, and global power plays. Mining these resources isn't simply about digging in the dirt. It's about navigating a web of insurgency, international rivalry, and strategic maneuvering that could shape the 21st century. So today, we're going to uncover why this $8 trillion treasure is still untouched, who's watching it, and how it could reshape the balance of power in the world. Buckle up, because this is a journey from serene capitals to remote mountains, from billion-dollar boardrooms to tense geopolitical standoffs. Now that we know there's an $8 trillion treasure under Pakistan, the next question is, why should the world care? It's simple. These minerals are the backbone of the modern world. Copper powers our electrical grids and digital infrastructure. Lithium is the heartbeat of electric vehicle batteries and energy storage systems. Gold drives financial markets and electronics. And rare earth elements? They are critical for missiles, satellites, AI chips, and smartphones. Without them, much of today's technology would grind to a halt. This means that whoever controls these resources doesn't just control a mine, they control industrial and military power. Imagine a country that can supply the materials for electric vehicles, modern fighter jets, and space satellites. That's not just economic influence, that's strategic leverage over the entire world. Right now, most of these materials flow through a few global powers, with China dominating copper smelting, lithium processing, and rare earth refining. But if Pakistan's minerals were tapped, it could shift the global balance, creating new opportunities, new dependencies, and potentially new conflicts. In short, this isn't just Pakistan's story. It's a global flashpoint. The stakes are massive, and the consequences reach far beyond the mountains and deserts where these minerals lie. To understand the scale of Pakistan's hidden wealth, we need to look at where it's actually located. Most of the treasure is concentrated in two regions: Balochistan in the southwest and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in the north. These areas are mostly rural, mountainous, and often overlooked. But beneath their rugged terrain lies over 80% of Pakistan's mineral wealth. The crown jewel is a place called Rikodik in Chagai district, Balochistan. Buried under sand and rock are 5.6 billion tons of ore, including 22 million tons of copper and 13 million ounces of gold. Just the copper alone is worth hundreds of billions of dollars at today's market prices. But Pakistan's riches go beyond copper and gold. The country sits on the Tethyan Metallogenic Belt, a geological zone stretching from Eastern Europe through Iran into Pakistan. This belt is known for lithium, chromite, and rare earth elements, all essential for modern technology, from EV batteries to microchips and missiles. In the northern mountains, geologists have even found lithium-rich pegmatites, the exact type of mineral powering the global shift to electric vehicles. If you were to map it visually, it would look like a treasure trail running through mountains, deserts, and valleys. A geological jackpot hidden in plain sight. And as we'll see next, this wealth is attracting attention from some of the most powerful countries in the world. Pakistan's minerals aren't just valuable, they're strategically critical. Right now, China dominates the global supply chain for many of these resources, controlling 44% of copper smelting, 90% of rare earth refining, and a huge share of lithium processing. That means nearly every EV battery, missile system, or smartphone chip passes through Chinese hands. This dominance has global powers watching closely. Whoever manages to tap Pakistan's mineral belt could reshape industrial and military supply chains, gaining leverage over technology, defense, and energy markets. For the United States, Europe, and even emerging economies, Pakistan is more than a mine. It's a potential strategic pivot point. The stakes are high, but the story is also full of failed attempts. Several foreign companies and countries have tried to invest in Pakistan's minerals, only to pull back due to security risks, legal disputes, and infrastructure challenges. These failures are a warning. This isn't a simple gold rush. It's a complex chessboard where money, risk, and politics collide. Here's the harsh truth. Even with $8 trillion in minerals beneath its soil, Pakistan is one of the most dangerous places in the world to invest in mining. Wealth underground doesn't equal opportunity above ground. At least not without enormous risks. Let's start with security challenges. Most of Pakistan's mineral wealth lies in Balochistan and parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, regions that have seen decades of insurgency. Armed separatist groups like the Balochistan Liberation Army have openly declared war on foreign exploitation of local resources. To them, these minerals belong to the local people, not to the federal government or multinational corporations. They've made their point violently. In 2023 alone, Pakistan experienced 54 terrorist attacks in a single month, and 53 of them were in these mineral-rich regions. Convoys carrying foreign engineers, even those working on massive projects like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, have been attacked. Ambushes, suicide bombings, and kidnappings are a grim reality. Security isn't the only problem. Take the Tethian Copper Company, a joint venture between Canadian and Chilean firms. In the early 2000s, they won rights to explore Reko Diq, one of the largest copper and gold deposits in the world. But after years of legal disputes, repeated delays, and constant threats to staff, the $3.3 billion project collapsed entirely. The company sued Pakistan for breach of contract, resulting in a $6 billion penalty, a financial wound that Pakistan is still struggling to recover from. The takeaway is clear. Even the wealthiest companies can't simply waltz in, dig up the minerals, and make profits. The combination of insurgency, legal uncertainty, and risk to human life creates an investment black hole, a place where money, manpower, and time vanish into an almost inescapable void. And even if someone somehow survives the danger, that's just the beginning. Infrastructure, logistics, and processing challenges create another layer of hurdles. We'll dive into those in the next section. Let's say a company somehow manages to secure its mine and protect its workers. That's only the start of the challenge. Mining isn't just about digging minerals out of the ground. It's about getting them to the global market. And in Pakistan, that's a logistical nightmare. First, consider energy. Mining operations require enormous amounts of power, from blasting rock to refining metals. But Pakistan's electricity grid is weak and unreliable. Blackouts and load shedding are common, forcing companies to rely on diesel generators, which are expensive, polluting, and impractical for sustained operations at a multi-billion-dollar scale. Next, transport is a nightmare. The mineral-rich regions are mountainous and remote, with roads that are narrow, steep, and often washed out by floods or landslides. Moving heavy machinery and tons of ore feels like navigating a war zone. Every ton extracted faces the risk of getting stuck, delayed, or attacked along the way. Security adds yet another layer of cost. Companies like Barrick Gold, which still holds a stake in Reko Diq, estimate they would need up to $1 billion per year just for armed protection, including convoys, surveillance, and private security forces. That's not part of the mining budget. That's essentially running a small army just to get minerals to market. Finally, Pakistan lacks large-scale processing facilities. Raw ore can't simply be shipped as is, it must be refined. Without domestic smelters, the minerals must travel abroad for processing, adding costs, delays, and risk. So even if you survive the insurgency and legal challenges, extracting minerals is far from simple. The combination of unreliable energy, treacherous transport, high security costs, and missing infrastructure turns mining into a high-stakes gamble. This is why, despite trillions underground, the surface tells a different story. Checkpoints, armed guards, and silence. In the next section, we'll see why geopolitics is now pulling the U. Up until recently, much of Pakistan's mineral wealth was ignored by the West. Too risky, too remote, too unstable. But now the United States is paying attention, and not casually. Why? Because China controls the supply chain for nearly every mineral that powers the modern world. Consider the numbers. 90% of rare earth minerals used in U.S. defense systems are imported from or processed in China. Lithium, essential for electric vehicle batteries and energy storage, is in short supply globally, and the U.S. produces almost none domestically. Even stockpiles are minimal. The military reportedly holds only a 3-month supply of key minerals. In short, this is no longer just an economic issue. It's a national security problem. For the U.S., tapping Pakistan's minerals could reduce dependence on China and secure access to copper, gold, lithium, and rare earth elements crucial for electric vehicles, AI infrastructure, satellites, and weapons systems. It's a race to secure resources that aren't just valuable, they're strategically essential for maintaining technological and military advantage. This development turns a local mining story into a global geopolitical chessboard, where Pakistan sits at the center, with superpowers circling, each weighing risks, costs, and leverage. And as we'll see next, the first moves in this game began with a strategic Minerals-for-Tariffs deal. In 2022, the United States and Pakistan quietly began a strategic arrangement that could change the game. Pakistan was struggling under $130 billion in debt and facing punishing tariffs on its exports to the United States. The deal was simple and transactional. The United States would lower certain trade barriers, and in return, Pakistan would open access to its mineral projects. This wasn't a partnership of equals. The United States didn't offer massive infrastructure funding, long-term guarantees, or troops on the ground. Instead, it secured a foothold in one of the world's richest mineral regions at relatively low risk. Meanwhile, Pakistan took on the heavy lifting securing mines, building roads and power lines, and managing local unrest, all while foreign investors watched from the sidelines. The result was a quiet gold rush, but not one led by miners with pickaxes. Instead, it's driven by diplomats, lawyers, and Pentagon analysts analyzing satellite imagery, maps, and spreadsheets. American companies began forming joint ventures, eyeing copper, gold, lithium, and rare earth elements, preparing for a future where control over these resources could shift global industrial and military balance. The stakes are high, but the benefits and risks are deeply unequal. And as we'll explore next, that raises the question, who really wins when foreign powers make deals like this? On paper, these deals might look like a win-win. The United States gains access to strategic minerals, while Pakistan earns foreign investment and potential economic relief. But dig deeper, and the balance is heavily skewed. Pakistan bears almost all the risk. The government must provide security in regions plagued by insurgency, maintain roads and power lines through rugged mountains, and navigate protests from local communities. Meanwhile, American companies invest relatively little up front, relying on Pakistan's infrastructure and local labor while securing a significant share of profits. History warns us about this pattern. In the Congo, cobalt mines enriched foreign companies while local communities saw little benefit. In Afghanistan, trillions of dollars in minerals never translated into stability or economic growth. Across parts of Latin America, mineral exploitation often ended in lawsuits, environmental damage, and social unrest. Pakistan faces the resource curse, the risk that a country rich in natural resources ends up with foreign exploitation, economic dependency, and continued poverty for its citizens. Questions loom large. Who decides where mines open? Who ensures environmental standards are met? And if the profits flow outward, does the local population ever truly benefit? This is the fine print that rarely makes headlines, and it's what turns a mineral treasure into a complex geopolitical and economic gamble. Even if the United States manages to secure stakes in Pakistan's mines, there's a twist no one can ignore. China controls the fastest, cheapest route to export these minerals. That route is Gwadar Port, a deep-sea port in southwestern Pakistan leased to China for 43 years. Gwadar is more than a shipping hub, it's strategically critical. Located near the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which 1/5 of the world's oil passes every day, control of the port gives China enormous leverage over global energy and trade flows. Any company extracting minerals in Pakistan may still depend on China to get their resources to market. China's influence doesn't stop at the port. Through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, Beijing has invested billions in roads, railways, and fiber networks, linking Gwadar to the mineral-rich regions in the north. This means that even American companies, trying to bypass Chinese dominance, might still rely on Chinese-controlled infrastructure to export copper, lithium, and rare earths. The irony is striking. The United States invests billions to reduce dependence on China, only to find it may still be tied to China's logistics network. This creates a three-way standoff: Pakistan as the landowner, China controlling access, and the United States seeking resources, all playing out against a backdrop of growing global tensions. In the next section, we'll explore the strategic implications of this standoff and how it could reshape global power. With Pakistan sitting on $8 trillion in minerals, the situation has become far more than a local economic story. It's now a high-stakes global chessboard. The players are clear: the United States, China, and Pakistan, each with different goals, tools, and risks. For the United States, access to Pakistan's minerals represents a critical opportunity to reduce reliance on China for rare earths, lithium, and copper. It's about national security and technological independence. But even with United States investments and joint ventures, the dependency on Pakistan's infrastructure and, crucially, China's Gwadar port means America can't fully control the supply chain. China, meanwhile, is in a position of power. By controlling Gwadar port and the transportation corridors built under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, Beijing has a veto point. If relations between Pakistan and the United States sour, or if tensions rise in the region, China could delay shipments, increase costs, or even influence local policy to protect its investments. This leverage gives China a subtle but decisive influence over a resource that the United States desperately wants. Pakistan, sitting in the middle, faces a delicate balancing act. It has the opportunity to turn its mineral wealth into economic growth, infrastructure development, and global relevance. But it also risks becoming dependent on foreign powers, exporting raw materials, while importing finished goods and losing control over its own resources. The ripple effects extend far beyond Pakistan. Global supply chains, energy security, defense industries, and technology markets could all shift, depending on who controls these resources. Hypothetical scenarios abound. A delay at Gwadar could impact electric vehicle production in the United States. A local insurgency could stall rare earth exports for months, or disputes over profit sharing could destabilize the region economically. In short, what happens in Pakistan's mountains and deserts could echo across the entire globe. The next section dives deeper into Pakistan's own dilemma, the tension between leveraging this wealth and protecting sovereignty. For Pakistan, the stakes are intensely personal. This isn't just a story about minerals or money, it's about sovereignty, survival, and national identity. The government, local communities, and activists all face a difficult balancing act: how to capitalize on $8 trillion in resources without losing control or falling into dependency. On one hand, opening mines could provide job opportunities, infrastructure development, and revenue that Pakistan desperately needs. Roads, electricity, and industrial facilities could transform remote regions, improving quality of life and boosting the national economy. On the other hand, these projects often benefit foreign investors more than locals. Security costs, environmental concerns, and profit outflows could leave ordinary citizens with few tangible benefits, echoing patterns seen in other resource-rich nations. Political stability is another challenge. Pakistan must manage insurgency, local resistance, and complex regional politics while negotiating with powerful global players. Without stable governance and strong institutions, the country risks becoming a battleground for external powers, rather than a bridge linking global supply chains to domestic prosperity. The question looms: can Pakistan navigate these pressures and shape deals on its own terms, ensuring that the wealth beneath its soil becomes a tool for national development rather than a trap? Or will it fall into the resource curse, where riches create dependency, conflict, and exploitation? The stakes are clear. The path Pakistan chooses will impact not only its own future, but also global industrial and military dynamics. Here's the bottom line: Pakistan sits on $8 trillion in minerals, copper, gold, lithium, and rare earths that could power electric vehicles, satellites, artificial intelligence infrastructure, and even modern defense systems. But this treasure is far from a simple windfall. It's a geopolitical tug-of-war, with the United States, China, and Pakistan each trying to advance their interests while managing immense risks. The United States wants independence from China's supply chains. China wants to secure its ports, roads, and processing networks. Pakistan wants to turn buried wealth into national survival, yet no one gets everything they want. The United States may still rely on Chinese-controlled infrastructure. China risks its multi-billion-dollar investments if instability rises. And Pakistan must balance sovereignty, security, and economic growth without becoming trapped in dependency. The most important question remains: will Pakistan become a bridge between superpowers, benefiting from its resources while maintaining control, or a battleground, where external powers extract wealth at the expense of its people. The story isn't over. The outcome will shape regional economies, global technology, energy markets, and military strategy for decades to come. If you found this story insightful, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join us as we uncover the hidden global stories that shape our world. Because sometimes, the biggest events start deep beneath the ground,